Good evening. It's Wednesday, July 8th. It's 8:04 p.m. A very hot day. Worldometer just has reset it. Just dive right in and look at some of the newest news. We have a lot to talk about today. So USA has for the first time surpassed 60,000 new cases in one day, with 61,848 new cases and 890 deaths. They are starting to report a lot of deaths, but what I'm kind of seeing by scanning the articles is that there are a lot of deaths happening that are not being counted, and we'll get into that later. Brazil is second, 41,000 new cases. India third, with the ever increasing number now at 25,000. Russia fourth at 6,000, and for new deaths, Brazil was number one again at 1,187 deaths. Mexico 895, USA 890, India 491. So we're seeing a uptick, and it's very concerning. If we go straight to USA and look at the states for today, we have some more disturbing developments. Today, number one is Texas at 10,199 new cases. Florida, second, 9,000. California, third, 8,000. Arizona, fourth at 3,500. For deaths, number one was California with 150 deaths. I'd never seen that before. And this is right here where I'm at, right here in LA County. Second is Texas, 121. Third is New Jersey, 64. Fourth is Florida at 49. Now, it's known that these numbers are actually kind of outdated. So, who knows how bad the situation is, but it's really bad. We have to look at excess deaths. We have to look at people that are dying and not getting tested. And we'll get into that. We'll get into that later. Now, let's look at the latest news. The latest developing news. So we have at least 56 intensive care units in Florida hospitals reached capacity on Tuesday, state officials said. Another 35 hospitals show ICU bed availability of 10% or less, according to the Agency for Healthcare Administration in that state. So Florida is, it's kind of hard to get info from Florida, as it is most places, especially Florida, because they, as I've said before, they've been caught manipulating numbers a lot, firing people that don't want to manipulate the numbers. You have states changing the definition of what a SARS-2 ICU patient is. It's a huge curve going on. The countries of the world basically want to create and build their own narrative of how bad the virus is. Social workers employed by Orange County are calling for enhanced safety measures at the Santa Ana building where they work, driven by fear of increased exposure to colleagues who have tested positive for SARS-2 over the past few weeks. The workers say their potential exposure to the virus also poses a risk to elderly and disabled clients who they sometimes must visit at home. As I mentioned earlier, no one's talking about the impact the SARS-2 is having on disabled people. I made a video about the disabled in the UK, how they're essentially being left to die. With demand soaring, LA County narrows priority for who should get coronavirus SARS-2 tests to only those who are symptomatic. California, more big Orange County restaurants close after employees test positive for SARS-2. Now I can't keep up with this anymore. Before I used to be able to. Before it was that you would see one restaurant was shut down. That was a big deal. And then next thing you know, it was one in a few states, one in several states. Now there's so many in so many different states. I can no longer keep track of it. It's really just gone out there. But the media won't focus on this because they don't want to scare people into not wanting to eat fast food or restaurants. The SARS-2 outbreak continued to worsen in California this week, with 9,500 infections recorded on Tuesday, the most new cases reported in a single day since the pandemic began, and triple-digit fatalities that sent the statewide death toll past 6,500. LA County asked people to not get tested for peace of mind in pandemic. This reminds me of Yemen, where the officials didn't want to reveal the numbers out of the sake of the psychological health of the people. Complete just cover up. This is just complete cover up. I just told all of you just now how they only want to test symptomatic people when the over majority are asymptomatics. So it's damage control. They don't want it's all they do is try to contain the fear, but it's gonna get out. It's going to be mass panic. They're not gonna be able to contain this virus. Peace of mind. Trump administration eyes $1 trillion price tag for next SARS-2 relief package. So there's been a lot of talk about when the next stimulus check is coming out in America. We had one. They've been blocking every single one ever since. But it seems like they're going to possibly come to a decision at the end of the month. But I think it's going to have a lot more strings attached than the first stimulus check. And you saw how the farce of the first check, how they sent it to over 1 million dead people. It's laughable. Arizona is now number 1 in the U.S. for SARS-2. But some Arizonians say it's no big deal. Now, there are many epicenters. Arizona isn't the only one that's getting hit real hard. There's other states that are getting hit just as hard. There are other states that have bigger populations that can be potentially much worse than Arizona. But again, the delusion of the public to say that it's no big deal. Again, I've talked a lot about this pandemic. And one of the things that people need to realize is the psychological attack that people are receiving via Plandemic, Andrew Koofman, and all the other grifters and frauds and liars that are preying on the fear of the normies to make a dollar. I mean, we had a guy release a paper trying to disprove that masks don't work that Kevin posted on his stream, and the guy literally draws his own grass in the paper, and it's just laughable. I think he retracted it too. I mean, the paper is archived; it's there if you want to look at it, but it's just, who is backing these people? What is the source of this? Why is there a huge misinformation campaign tricking the public into thinking that it's about my freedoms, that the virus is a hoax, and that it's the mass that's killing people? It's so rampant all over the world that there has to be some kind of puppet playing in the background, some puppeteer in charge of But we gotta fight that, ignorance. We gotta fight that. 36 SARS-2 cases connected to outbreak in Mississippi legislature. 26 are lawmakers. Well, that's, nobody, virus spares nobody. Over 40% of staff at Eloy Immigration Detention Center have tested positive for SARS-2. 128 infected staff out of 315 and 270 detainees have tested positive so far. Now, keep this in mind if you go to the source and read the article. They claim that 220 detainees are positive, but the Arizona State did some research, and it turns out 2 weeks ago they had 270 positive detainees, and now they're at 220. So I'm positive that they're covering up the number of detainees that are actually infected. It should be much higher than 270. As SARS-2 surges in Serbia, riots erupt over announcement of a curfew. I think that this is the beginning of something that's going to happen worldwide. Once the pandemic really, really does that damage, once the grifters really take over the minds of the normies, we will see violent reactions to more lockdowns. And Serbia was one of the first ones that unfortunately had to suffer that kind of fate. And right before this article, a Serbian contact told me that Serbia is on fire, and then a couple minutes later, I happened to stumble upon this article on Serbia. U.S. hits 3 million confirmed SARS-2 cases. Well, we know it's much higher than that, significantly much higher than that, and who knows how many more cases that we get every single day, with a virus that is mutating to become even more infectious, with an unknown mortality rate. Now, I want to stress that SARS-2 has an unknown mortality rate that we won't know until the end of the pandemic. All we have are unreliable and manipulated case death rates. So anybody that tells you that this is a nothing burger, that it has a 1% chance of killing you, a 0.001% chance of killing you. Well, how do you know? It's impossible to know the mortality rate. We know that SARS killed 10% of its total infected, and that MERS killed 37% of its total infected. At the rate things are going, I would really be concerned about what is SARS-2's mortality rate. But we won't know till the end. This doctor and his family got the SARS-2 when they relaxed rules along the Florida reopening. Now, this is the story of a doctor that came back home after he was done fighting the virus, and Florida reopened, and they decided to have family get-togethers. And what happened? His entire family got infected, including cousins and uncles that came by to visit. And I am hearing this happening way too much. It's gotten to the point where many families are getting infected. All of them. Mom, dad, son, in some cases, dog. This is, it's incredible. SARS-2 spike jeopardizes reopening of K-12 schools. LA County's top health official warns. So, because of SARS-2, teachers do not want to go back to teach because they don't feel safe. And this is happening all over the world. You'll find that this is happening all over the world. Teachers are saying that I'm not going to go back to teach because we're in the middle of a pandemic and it can be in trouble if the state does not take the right safety and protocols to ensure the safety of the schools and teachers. Also, President Donald Trump's threat on Wednesday to cut off federal funding for schools if they don't open in the fall is the latest stress for schools already reeling from the SARS-2 pandemic. Now again, you can't take anything this man says seriously. In fact, you will learn the truth by taking what he says and believing the opposite of it. That's how backwards this man is. Mora, California. How one California county managed to stay SARS-2 free. Really? They think that we're not gonna notice this game. In this entire county, only 600 tests have been made. Discarded. Completely discarded. No testing, no cases. Obvious. Colorado City to mandate SARS-2 face coverings, threatening up to a year in jail for violators. Now, as Peak Prosperity says, it didn't have to be this way. But because people do not want to wear the masks, and I've already explained before, and I don't want to keep repeating myself, this is what pandemic has done. Now you're being threatened to be put in jail for not wearing a mask. But if this is what it takes, then you got to do it. You got to enforce it. Los Angeles SARS-2 update. Mayor Eric Garcetti warns of possible new stay-at-home order. All options on the table. There are still too many social gatherings, way too many pool parties, he said. Now, we've seen what happened in Serbia. Can this happen in LA once they decide to lock down again? I think most likely, considering how how we have these pandemic zombies roaming around. U.S. reports record single high spike of 60,000 new SARS-2 cases. We saw that when we went over worldometers. The WHO confirms there is emerging evidence of airborne transmission of SARS-2. The World Health Organization confirmed there is emerging evidence of airborne transmission of SARS-2 following the publication of a letter Monday signed by 239 scientists that urged the agency to be more forthcoming about SARS-2 being airborne. Again, the WHO knows this. The WHO knows everything about this virus. It's obvious. But like I said before, they are kept on a leash by China, and they are releasing information months late. Months late. We knew it was airborne since way back when it was in China and in Wuhan. We saw articles and papers about it, how the virus in a restaurant was circulated through the AC system and infected people. So we already knew this. But their excuse is that, it's not peer reviewed. We're going to wait till it's peer reviewed. And who knows when it'll get peer reviewed. But again, like I said many times before, the WHO are unreliable. They are liars, just like the CDC. And they should all be jailed. All Tedros should be backed up against the wall and shot for what he has done. And for what he has done to his own country in Ethiopia, where he played down his own people's disease outbreaks and cause many deaths. The man has a lot of blood on his hands. Mainstream media barely starts reporting on brain damage. Scientists warn SARS-2 pandemic could cause wave of brain damage. So the mainstream media is now starting to report a lot more on the brain damage. Again, like they control the narrative. They're going at the pace they want people to go at. And now that this is coming out, people are saying, "Oh, the WHO said it could be airborne. I didn't know that. Oh, the virus can cause brain damage. I didn't know that." Again, reliance on the mainstream media means nothing more than just to be made dumb, deaf, and blind. You need to do your own research when it comes to this virus. So, as you can see, today was a very eventful day. A lot is happening. If you can, please share the video, subscribe. I am working on a way to figure out how to live stream. I'm only on mobile. I don't have the gear to stream on a desktop. I have a laptop that's very poor. I bought whatever was the cheapest I could get at Best Buy. Again, I do this all for free. I lost my job. I'm running off of my savings. I do this because I want to keep all of you informed. I'm not an expert on anything. I have no academic background in anything. I've just had so much free time that I dove into this virus. And, I'm going to go as far down the rabbit hole as I can. And it's really just about, just spreading information, making people aware. Even if one person can see my video, that's a life that I can save. And they could do better than me from keeping their loved ones informed and keeping themselves with a better chance of survival. Well, thanks for tuning in. I do have I'm probably gonna make a few more videos. I have some other things I want to talk about, but I want to split them to other towards other videos. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in a few minutes.